Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Retzloff, a film critic for FilmBook. Today, you will be watching and listening to my review of The Mauritanian, which is directed by Kevin MacDonald, was written by Michael Bronner and Rory Haynes, and stars Jody Foster, Tahar Rahim, Shailene Woodley, among others. In discussing this movie, it's important to understand that this movie is based on true events. Essentially, the main character is the Mauritanian. He's a man who was involved with some things with Al Qaeda in the early 90s, but he ultimately wasn't really fully on board with them and wasn't involved in 9/11. But through a certain series of events, the US government detains him based on this belief that he was involved to some degree in the events of 9/11 based on his affiliation with Al Qaeda. And they detain him and keep him at Guantanamo Bay and torture him and put him through all of these hardships and threaten him and threaten his family and all of these terrible things. And basically, like at a certain point, it becomes clear that the U.S. government and a lot of the key people in the process, they don't really care if he's really innocent or not. They just seem to want to throw him under the bus or cause him harm, or maybe just persecute him because it's politically convenient or it makes it look like they're being hard on terror. So again, like I said, all based on true events. So watching this movie, it feels like you're learning a little bit about this world that we live in and all of the things that go on that inform the privilege that we enjoy to varying degrees. Seeing a movie that really depicts how grotesque and brutal the operations of the U.S. government can be behind the scenes. There's something very powerful about it. And in some ways, the movie is successful at presenting this in a way that's both impactful and like entertaining in the way that something like this should be, I suppose you could say. And also impactful and encouraging critical thinking and awareness. In other ways, it's not totally as successful, which I'll get to. But I would applaud the movie for taking on difficult subject matter like this and trying to present it in a way that is, hopefully, as I said, going to raise some awareness about these issues. So, in terms of things I really like about the movie, I would say the acting in general was great. The lead actor who plays the Mauritanian does a really good job. He sort of really does an interesting job with the vocal dialect and the way that the character speaks. And he's both very likable and very easy to watch in the role. And you feel a lot for him and you understand what he's going through, and the main actor delivers that really well. Jody Foster and Shailene Woodley are also in the film. They both do great performances, I'm sure, as you'd expect from Jodie Foster. At times, it didn't really totally feel like I was watching Jodie Foster. It really felt like her, like some other person. And then towards the end of the movie, you see some actual footage of the real people who all these actors are playing. And not only are the resemblances in some cases really striking, but it's clear that the actors did a good service or did well in portraying these people, I guess you could say. So, yeah, like I said, all the performances are good. I think it did kind of an interesting job at sort of depicting the Beltway DC kind of culture. Like Benedict Cumberbatch is in the movie, and there's a number of scenes where he's both kind of addressing issues in the military bases or different offices of different branches of the military and so on. But then you also sort of see his personal life where he'll be like shooting pool or hanging out at a friend's party at the friend's house or whatever. And it's interesting because it kind of makes you understand how this could all happen in the way it does. And a bit like I was kind of alluding to before, there's a big theme throughout the movie of how can good people who have sort of sworn their life to protecting the United States and doing the right thing in service of that goal, how those same people can be complicit in these really sketchy, messed up things like what happens to the Mauritanian in this movie. And I think seeing some of what Benedict Cumberbatch's character's life is like behind the scenes was good at that. So at achieving that. So anyway, so I would say that the movie had a lot of pretty interesting and compelling parts. Some of the highlights for me were, in addition to the performances, were the depiction of the Mauritanian's relationship with one of his cellmates. They kick a soccer ball around between their two enclosures when they're outside. That was a good part of the film, as were all the parts that show the Mauritanian's life at home and when he's dealing with his family at earlier points in his life and so on. Um, and another part that I think was sort of both effective and ineffective in certain ways was this sort of long scene later in the movie where the Mauritanian's being uh, tortured and beaten up on, and they use all these extravagant techniques on him. They're playing heavy metal at him. They're having guards go into his cell and beat him up while they're wearing masks. They're having a female guard try to sexually humiliate him while wearing a freaky animal mask. Those scenes are kind of shot really intensely, like a music video or something. And it did spice up the movie a little bit. I don't know if it was totally necessary. I think they were sort of just trying to add a little bit of entertainment to what could otherwise be potentially like dry or depressing. A lot of the movie is just sort of watching Jody Foster and Shailene Woodley, who basically play the lawyers and advocates for this guy, the Mauritanian. They're trying to help him out of his situation and go through all the right legal channels. So, watching people flip through boxes of redacted government documents isn't always the most entertaining thing in the world. So they did a good job at keeping it interesting with dialogue and so on. And as I said, that scene of all this torture and stuff that's filmed in this really intense way, it does help the movie along, but I don't know, there's parts of it that feel a little bit shock value oriented to me. Um, but yeah, I think that your mileage may vary with a movie like this. Basically, like if what I described sounds like it would be of interest to you, you'll probably like it and find it of interest. If not, then I wouldn't really suggest watching the movie. But the performances are all really good, and I think if nothing else, the movie does open up some insight into these sort of horrible situations that have gone on and probably are still going on to this day, and hopefully can elicit some good awareness and hopefully progress into how to keep these things from happening. And that brings us to the conclusion of The Mauritanian review. I'd like to thank you for watching my reaction to The Mauritanian. You can find more of my work at FilmBook. That's film-book.com. Just search for Austin Retzloff. You can also find more of my movie reviews on my YouTube channel, Austin Retzloff. You'll find that link in the description below. If you liked what you heard during my film review, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon so you're instantly notified when new reviews are published. If you agreed or disagreed with my review, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Please also consider becoming one of our patrons on Patreon, link in the description. Your support helps us create more engaging content. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.